DCM works, we kind of know the Force. Hey guys, welcome back to the Art for Artists podcast, official podcast of Digital and Creative Media Works. I am David, DCM, lead writer.
I didn't even know that was a full name.
Yeah, lead writer, creative director of that site, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Ben.
What am I?
You're my co-host.
Yeah, but,
That's
beyond that. Am I just the co-host?
Yeah. You're my number two. You're the gross, sweaty Spock.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And today we're talking about costumes and Kylo Ren.
I will fulfill our destiny. I will finish what you started.
The old Ben Solo.
Yeah, Ben Solo.
I was so happy when they were like, his name's Ben. I'm like, yes, best name. 10 out of 10.
It's pretty good. So the way that we'll basically structure these from moving forward is that every episode we'll have like a new topic from one of our content trees. So basically, like what we wanted to do is look at like how his costume came about. Yeah. Because it's kind of weird. Like
it's pretty odd. You see it and then you realize it's basically meant to be like Vader's helmet, but you're like, but it's so different.
Yeah, it's real different, and it ends up looking quite unique in its own way.
Like when I saw it the first time, I thought in the trailer, I was like, that's a weird helmet.
Yeah, and I mean, it kind of functions in the same way that Vader's helmet did in the original films, where it like breaks his humanity because he's got a helmet on. Yeah. So like you see him more as this like machine man than like a person.
Except he doesn't require it to breathe.
Yeah, so which is like it's like a cute twist when he takes it off, and you're like, oh, he didn't need it.
Like, he's fine.
Yeah, that's kind of nice. Yeah. And so Michael Kaplan, who was the costume designer on the set, said that there's nothing. So this is a direct quote from him. There's nothing better to bring you into the world of believability than when clothes look like they've been worn quite a bit and are all broken down and their shoes have mud on them. Yep. And like this is really true of Kylo's costume. Like he's all frayed and shit, and he's got like gross things on his cloak.
It's true of a lot of the film. Like a lot of the stuff just looks older, which is kind of why it works so well. It's the reason the original trilogy looked so good as well.
Yeah,
because everything was just broken.
And like he's got these gouges and laser blasts on his helmet, and like I think it's nice that you get the contrast between everything else in the world that's really battered and shit, and like the brand new Stormtrooper armor. Yeah,
the Stormtroopers are like very.
It's quite sort of
especially in the opening cinematic where you see them in the like in the transport ship. They all look just perfectly like cleaned pristine, and polished. Yeah. And then by the end of it, they're all covered in mud.
They're covered in dust and blood and shit.
Yeah,
it's quite cool. And
like. Even in the trailer, that was like the coolest shot because it's like they look so nice.
Yeah,
which is like so perfect for like what the Stormtroopers are. Yeah,
they're this like they almost become this alien force.
Yeah,
particularly on that first scene in Jakku where they're sort of you get Kylo Ren who comes out of the ship at the end and he's just sort of so different from them. Like his cloak is frayed and it's like this textured material and they're wearing their polished, shiny armor,
bright white,
but that's now covered in dust and blood, and he's this guy who's come out from the ship already sort of worn and battered, but different. It's quite striking.
Like that scene as a whole is similar to the opening of Episode 4, where Darth Vader literally does the same thing. Where he walks in after all the stormtroopers, but even Darth Vader looked kind of shiny in the original films, and like it was more just the film being old and being filmed on film. Yeah, that it kind of looked a bit more.
It kind of adds to that shiny sort of. He looks much more like a stormtrooper.
Yeah, whereas Kylo Ren definitely looks like.
He looks like a Sith. Like he doesn't look like a stormtrooper. He looks like a Sith Lord.
He looks like It kind of humanizes him a bit more. The fact that he's kind of a bit more worn, especially the fact that he's wearing robes rather than like plate armor. Essentially.
Can you put your phone on the other side for me? Sorry. Yeah, no, definitely. Like, I think the texture, and we'll get into the texture of the robes a little bit later, but like, I think it's kind of interesting that apparently J.J. Abrams worked really closely with Kaplan during the design. Like, even of all the costumes, going so far as to ask about specific seams on certain costumes.
Oh, yeah.
J.J. was really, interested in that stuff. And they even had what they called a distressing department, which would add wear and age and stuff.
If you follow... what's his name? The Mythbusters guy. The younger one.
Adam or Jamie?
Jamie.
Jamie is the one with the hat.
Adam. Yeah. So if you follow a lot of Adam's stuff on the Tested channel, he's a distressing fanatic. Like he loves weathering things, and because he worked on a lot of older sci-fi films. I'm pretty sure, including Star Wars.
I think so.
I'm pretty sure he was in Star Wars.
That's an AFA fact. It may not be true, but it probably is.
But and he does a lot of distressing, and it's like you see like the before and after of projects he's done, where he takes like a box, which is like a clean, pristine box, and then just like weathers it with like paint and like scratches and literally beating it with a hammer.
Yeah,
and it looks nicer being broken.
Yeah, it's quite interesting
because
isn't
it feels more authentic.
It adds weight.
Yeah, it gives it more character. It gives it a story, and especially with Kylo Ren's helmet, like every single mark on it tells like a story of, you know, he's not this freshly cut like straight off the block villain.
It's
like,
a real
he's been
old
around.
helmet, and like I think there's a really interesting quote from Kaplan here where sort of speaking specifically about the helmet. So Kaplan said the silver in those lines, so like the ones on the helmet, kind of reflects and changes color with the action. You know, if he's standing in front of the fire, you see that. So it almost brings you into the mask a bit. Like when you look at it, it kind of like draws you in.
True, yeah, that is pretty clever.
And it's kind of this cool, like,
yeah,
because originally they were not silver. I think they were like a matte or they were gold or something.
Yeah. He's like, no, make them reflective.
Yeah, being silver, it's like when you've got the laser blast in front of the Star Destroyer, his helmet is red.
Yeah.
And when he draws his saber, it kind of takes on that color, and it's kind of this cool like small decision they made, but it means that you kind of like it's real trippy.
Yeah, they do a lot with color in the film. Like it's a very literal like blue and red film kind of thing.
Yeah, it's quite cool.
You just have scenes where you'll just have blue and red and contrast in blue and red. Never purple, you know. They never really mix them. They just go blue or red.
Well, you get a lot of beige with
Jakku and the
and particularly like Rey. She's in a lot of scenes they'll try and they change the color palette slightly to be gray, and then Han's is sort of greenish and stuff. So it's kind of interesting looking at the colors, but I was saying before that Adam Driver was talking about how difficult wearing the helmet was when he was working. Yeah. Because he
pretty funny.
It was like, to this day, I still don't know who's in the movie because I haven't seen anybody. Apparently, like, as much as...
It would be really hard to see. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because, like, as much as the helmets that you can buy that are props are easy to see out of because they're not, like, have the actual metal or whatever.
Yeah, they don't have to be sturdy.
Apparently, like, and he would have to wear, like, this sort of something under his eyes to make them stay dark. Through the lens,
so you can see.
I think there was also padding on the inside to add
a similar thing that they do with Batman.
Yeah, where Christian Bale paints his eyes. Yeah, that's right.
Although that's like with that's actually part of the costume that Bruce Wayne
he puts on,
rather than just like, oh, we don't want them to see your eyes, so we're gonna, and even because when he takes off the helmet, he doesn't have black under his eyes, obviously.
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's more of just like a behind the scenes costume thing where they're like,
you don't want to see it. Yeah,
we need him to see out, but we don't want to let people see in.
And I think that goes back to like that J.J. Abrams thing where he didn't want to do that in post.
No,
because they could have, but it would have just been weird.
It just would have been weird.
You know,
his eyes would have looked really like if they'd done that in post and like sort of green screen the visor on, I think it just would have looked janky as all hell.
Yeah,
and you wouldn't get those natural reflections that you get.
And there's weird moments
actually having something there.
And like there's some really nice shadows that you get that are just natural shadows from particularly the hood, which we'll get to when we talk about the robes. But like with the helmet itself, you said before it's kind of like Vader's, but it's kind of not.
Yeah,
I think it's indicative of the fact that he's clearly made it himself, and like it's weird and janked, and like there's this weird damage, like the left temple panel is slightly warped from some impact. We said before there's like there's like a forehead gouge that might be like a laser blast.
Yeah, there's like a lot of weird scratches on the top of it as well.
Yeah, like the edges, and like some of it you're like, how would that happen? Probably like in transit or in a fight or something. But it makes it, you know, like the edges are chipped and cracked. And the other thing that I really like that I completely forgot to write down here is that it has a really good sound design. It really clunks down, like it sounds heavy in metal.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, when he drops it on that bridge, it goes kung, like it really lands. Yeah. And when he puts it in the Vader's ashes, it goes whoosh, and really buries itself.
Yeah, like the sound design for the whole film is amazing.
Yeah.
And it's all those small details that make the helmet, which is clearly just plastics and it's fiberglass.
There's like a little bit of metal in it.
Yeah, but mainly plastic. You know, but they're able to make it seem like
seems
this
old and
hunk
sturdy.
Of metal.
Yeah, and you kind of imagine that it would be really fucking heavy to wear.
Really hot. It would be pretty
It'd be
sweaty
hot and
there.
really heavy, and like it's clearly this self-flagellation thing that he's doing. Or, it's just because he wants to seem like Vader. But I mean, that first scene where you see him with Hux and Kylo's not wearing the helmet, it's just kind of like Kylo's a bit awkward because he's not wearing the helmet.
He's an awkward kid.
Yeah, he's just like a spotty kid. Like,
Yeah.
it's kind of cool that they have him be like, oh, it's a little weird to have his helmet off.
So he's like that edgy kid who like pretends to be Naruto.
Yeah.
And he
Oh,
puts
yeah.
the helmet on to like.
You mean
seem
Sasuke?
Cool. Yeah.
Sasuke.
And it's like
yeah.
he's like, you're such a dweeb, but he's so powerful regardless.
It's
So you're
crazy,
like,
yeah.
Oh man, Kylo Ren. Actually, the original designs or some of the concept designs, there was like a photo floating around of some of the original drawings for Kylo's mask. And they look so weird. Like, a lot of them look a lot more like Vader's mask than the current one.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of like sort of like bigger masks, like longer, sort of like almost Egyptian Sphinx like masks. Like the grill under his like on the bottom half of the mask. There was some that like had that grill extend like pretty much down his neck really far.
Okay.
It's like kind of weird, like different designs they went for. I think the Egyptian thing would have been really weird because he's like Adam Driver as an actor. He's pretty Hispanic. Like he's certainly not like super white. So they could have just been like, yeah, he's whatever, some Star Wars equivalent of Egyptian.
Yeah, it's kind of
like
nice that they didn't though.
Oh yeah, I mean it would have been kind of jarring because it's like, but he's Han Solo's son, and Han Solo is white. It's like, and it's like, why would you? Well, yeah, like I think we've talked about it before, but they both have that very Roman nose.
Yeah,
So
they really do.
Making him Egyptian.
It would have been a weird choice.
Yeah.
No, for sure.
But yeah, some of the designs for the mask,
they're really interesting.
And even the photo I saw of the concept drawings, none of them were what we got. Like, none of them were the Kylo Ren mask that we got.
From the research I've been doing, like, it seems like what happens is they have the concept of the mask, and they'll build, like, a few models.
Yeah.
And then they'll go, well, how's it going to look when he's wearing it? And so they'll make, like, a wearable model and go,
you'd especially have to look at how it looks in motion as well.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, that's weird because it doesn't match his shoulders, or it's weird. Because, like, Adam Driver, like, the uniform they put him in is quite straight up and down. So it would have been weird if the mask was really long, coming out from his face.
Yeah,
because
it's like
quite
long going down as well.
Yeah, because he's quite a rectangular person.
Yeah, and I think if you're making a mask and you're putting long bits on it, as soon as you move the mask, those long bits are going to be moving really fast because they're elongated, so they're going to be moving faster than everything else, and it would just look like an airplane.
Yeah, it'll look weirdly comical.
Weird.
And like that can work if there's like a lot of hanging bits, but if they're stationary, it's weird.
Yeah, it's like why a lot of people probably didn't like the original designs of Padme in the prequels. With the really long stuff, 'cause compared to Leia, which was very just like simple and like hair done in rather than hair done in plus a stupid fucking hat.
Yeah.
Like
it was a weird hat.
You kind of have like when you have that weird elongated stuff, it looks alien, so people are naturally going to be like, I don't really like it.
Which is kind of, I thought that was, and particularly with the makeup they put her in, I thought that was a cool decision to alienate her as this queen.
Oh yeah, she definitely looks non-human.
It did everything they wanted it to do, but just people didn't like it because that was what it was supposed to do.
Yeah, you were meant to like her.
And then she's like, oh, it's actually the cute handmaiden who wears like the jeans or whatever. Like, it's nice. No, shut up. That's great. I've come to really appreciate some things about the prequels like that. But so like I guess with Kylo's robes, I kind of touched on them before, but they've made it this weird like black basket weave thing. It's almost like a monk's cloth that he's wearing over the top. It's like super textured, and we haven't really seen that in Star Wars that much before.
Partly because just the fidelity of the film, they're able to get a lot more of that texture out.
Yeah.
And even with the prequels, they didn't really rely on, they didn't rely on anything practical in the prequels. I think we know that much. So they didn't really focus too much on like, oh, we want the costumes to look a certain way, because they'd be like, yeah, let's fucking do it in CGI.
Yeah, they were like, well, particularly with like Anakin's or something, they were like, well, he wears dark leathers. Don't think about it too much.
Yeah, whereas I think in this film, they were definitely like, we need to make everything look, especially because it's so far after, it's like a 30-year gap between episode 6 or however long it is.
Yeah.
And the way the timeline works is that like, it's instead of being like a technological advance, like everything's going up, it's we're at a high point and now everything's just gone to
we're in this.
shit.
We've gone over the
It's
hill
like
a bit.
constant post-war sort of depression
And
era.
it kind of feels like it.
Yeah, and the costumes really evoke that because everyone's kind of just wearing rags.
Yeah, and like I think particularly, even like to the extent where like it's this weird like leather hemp thing that he's wearing, and it's like you could get it probably somewhere on Earth, but the way that it's been rendered, it doesn't look like it looks like it's from some weird moon that like he picked it up, like it seems like he's been wearing it for years.
It looks really thick, but
Yeah.
it looks really light.
Yes.
It looks like a thick wool jacket that is super light for some reason.
Something I've learned as I was researching this is he actually wears a ton of layers.
Yeah.
And it's not that obvious when you watch the film the first time, but his robe is so he wears a mid coat, and then he wears so going from the bottom, he wears an under tunic, which is that sort of lined arm thing that comes out.
Oh yeah.
That's his under
The
tunic.
fucking scar.
Yeah.
Scar fucking t-shirt.
Yeah, it looks like mummy bandages or whatever. That's his under tunic. Then he wears a mid coat, which is the weightiest thing.
Mm.
That's the layer beneath the overcloak, which is the textured thing.
Yeah.
And then he wears a neck seal, which is the thing that his helmet goes onto.
Yeah.
It's like a weird space turtleneck thing, and it's this apparently like it's this super elaborate costume to get into.
And then just lots of belts, I assume.
There's
Does he still run all the belts?
It's just one thick belt.
Just one thick belt.
With the two attachments for the saber, and then I think there's something else that goes on the other side. I'm not sure.
General purpose.
Yeah, just like
Just
for
fanny
putting
pack.
like
Just for
dollar
coins and
bills,
whatnot.
I guess. But like I think it's really interesting that like you don't really see that in the film unless you're looking for it. But like it's this crazy elaborate layered thing, and apparently like the leather itself on the outside is a combination. It's like double layered, so it's a combination of I think the bottom layer is leather, and then on top of that, the textured stuff is like super treated cotton that's slightly transparent or something.
Jesus.
Which is why when he moves, it looks like it doesn't reflect as much as it should.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, what makes it give it that weird otherworldly thing.
Yeah, because because it's transparent. Light's just going through it.
So it kind of makes it feel like
shimmery kind of.
Yeah.
Like
So when he's in a room,
it's not exactly there.
So when he's in a room, it kind of seems like the room is like leaning toward him a bit.
Yeah.
And it's this weird thing where like I was looking at some screenshots before because the film is still not out on DVD or whatever.
Oh, Jesus.
And I was like, it's really weird that like you don't notice that till you start thinking about it. But yeah, it makes you like lean toward him a bit, just like mentally. Plus the helmet draws you in. Like it's this weird, crazy like they've spent a lot of time making him feel weirdly like you kind of feel weirdly compelled toward him.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of important for his character because he is like unlike someone like Darth Maul, who going into the film, if you don't really follow the backstory, you don't know who he is. He's just some rando. And starting with the episode 7, you go in and you're like, okay, Kylo Ren's big bad. But then when you realize he's actually part of like the bloodline, he's Han Solo.
He's part of that old chestnut.
You're just like, oh shit, he's a main character.
You're
it's like he
he's
isn't dying this episode, and so making him like not just because the thing I didn't like with Darth Maul is like, why does he just look like a demon? It's like, yeah, it's his character, but it's like he just looks overly threatening.
Because we never see another of that race in the actual films. They're all over the extended canon, but like they're not in any of the films.
And it's those characters who are like so just obscenely different to everyone else that they sort of just like push to the side when they're not needed anymore. Like the Gungans, pretty much all of them, it's just like, nah, whatever, we've gotten our CGI fix and I'll fuck off for 2 more films.
They're like just kind of
just go away. We don't want you anymore. But like having Kylo Ren actually be like an important character, part of the bloodline of basically like he's basically part of the Skywalker
he's part of the
line.
first family.
Yeah, he's part of the Skywalker line. So it means that he's like, we have to make him appealing. Like we can't just make him just super hateable.
Yeah,
like,
and
he has to have some redeeming qualities.
And like, yeah, you're right. And definitely part of that is like that costume design means that. Yeah,
it's
like
kind of cuddly. He's like, oh, you get up and snuggle with him because he's warm.
Kind of. It's more like I feel like it's more like there's this. You feel like this weird like attraction. You're not to him as like a person, but like on screen he has this magnetism because of that costume.
Yeah, and I think it contrasts well with a lot of the other main villains, like who's like the commander guy he like butt heads with a lot.
Oh, Hux.
Yeah, he's wearing a lot of like faux leather, like really shiny stuff. Like he's not
Fancy
wearing...
boy clothes.
Yeah. He's wearing a lot of like he's wearing like the officer's uniform. It's like really shiny.
He wears these big long
stupid
coats
Nazi hat
with like these leather bands on the front.
So he looks different to Kylo Ren. Like he he's got that contrast going. And even Captain Phasma. Is that the right word?
Phasma, yeah, you got it.
I keep fucking up that word.
You got it wrong the last 3 times we talked about Star Wars.
But she's obviously wearing the sort of Mandalorian-esque armor.
Yeah, it's her kind of adapted stormtrooper.
Yeah, it's like super reflective, and it's like that sort of contrast again. And then with the stormtroopers as well, like they contrast with him really well. So
everyone contrasts with him. Yeah,
and he looks more like just a dark Jedi than he does, which he's a Sith, so obviously he's a dark Jedi.
But like rather than being part of the Empire.
Yeah, like he fits more in with the other characters of Finn and Rey and Poe, rather than fitting in with Phasma and the evil Nazi dude. Like,
exactly.
So you sort of feel for him more as a character, which you should, because he's important. And he's part of that bloodline.
And he's kind of, I think one of the things, like, so I was looking at, when I was doing my research, I was looking at the certifications for cosplaying as Kylo Ren. So as part of the 5
Part
of
of
first.
the 5,
Yeah.
5 first.
And what was really interesting is that a lot of the materials they specify are from, like, super different places. And the way the article is written, it kind of implies that his outfit has been, like
built over the years.
Yeah, like it wasn't.
Places.
Yeah, like it wasn't. He didn't just pick it all up at once. Like it started.
Start off just a basic.
With just like the under tunic, and then and then it just kind of has built itself up over the years. But the most interesting thing I think is that the hood, and cowl, so like his hood and his cape or whatever, are the most weathered of the outfit, which seems to imply that he's worn them the longest. So it kind of.
I mean, if I was an edgy kid who wanted to become a Jedi, I would get.
The
cloak and hood first.
So my best guess is that he's had that since he was a Jedi. Or maybe he donned it when he first left Luke or whatever, but like that's...
Yeah.
I'm guessing he probably wore that as a Jedi, and that's the one thing that stayed.
It might be interesting to see if in the 501st / the Rebels Legion, if the materials they specify for Luke's outfit in the later episodes where he's wearing that black suit.
Yeah.
If that's similar to Kylo Ren's outfit.
Oh, it could be.
Because in the extended universe, at least, we know that Luke kept that outfit when he was training Jedi.
Yes.
You see that in like the Jedi Academy in those games.
Yeah.
And so it might be interesting if like Kylo Ren like initially like sort of followed Luke wearing that black.
Oh,
and then when he was like disillusioned, he like sort of kept the black because he's like, you know what, it's black. It's like, so I'll keep this.
It's like, it's my color.
And and then get the hood and sort of build from that. It might be interesting to see if there's like a parallel between. Obviously, I don't know whether if the filmmakers would have looked at Luke's and like, let's kind of style Kylo Ren after Luke.
Yeah, similarly.
But it might be interesting if it is.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. I mean, there's definitely.
the 501st and the Rebels definitely a good source for like figuring out costumes.
Yeah, they spend a lot of time
figuring out for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, like, yeah, it's gonna be interesting because he'll have to get a new helmet in the next film if they're gonna helmet him again.
That's the thing, yeah. A lot of people like
because he's left his helmet behind.
Yeah, because with the concept images, a lot of people are saying like maybe one of these is going to be the Episode 8 helmet.
I should think so.
Yeah, which could be weird because we could see the move into something like either like we could see like the super Roman or the super like Egyptian style.
I think what we'll probably see is
what if he just goes full fucking Spartan and just gets like
boy.
I suppose that's what the Mandalorian armor is.
Well, yeah, so like I mean we'll definitely do an episode on the Mandalorian armor at some point because it is fascinating, but one of the things that there's some parallels between the way that Kylo's helmet functions, not necessarily looks, but the way it functions and the way Mandalorian armor functions are very similar, where it's implied that he probably has a heads-up display. But it's never stated. Whereas the Mandalorian ones definitely do. So you can kind of get targeting systems and stuff. But the way that the visors function let you see properly and they let you hear properly and they have voice modulators, those are very similar. So probably what's happened is he's found some old Mandalorian kit, jerry-rigged it into his own helmet. Yeah. So what we could see is maybe he doesn't get another helmet. Or if he does, maybe Darth Plagueis has salvaged some other crap.
Because we've agreed it is Darth Plagueis.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Snoke. You know what I mean. For reference, when we're recording this, only The Force Awakens is out.
Oh, yeah, true. That would be interesting.
Yeah, so it could be interesting to see what happens there,
if
whether
we're right
or not.
Or wrong, yeah.
Yeah, but Yeah, so I guess like to kind of tie together in a neat bow, like I think the most interesting thing is that yeah, it's this weirdly like it's intimidating and it's kind of like it's got this weird magnetism to the way that the costume is put together.
Yeah.
And that's like the cloth, that's like the helmet, it's all of the stuff together.
Like as an outfit, it seems more sort of like I don't know, accessible compared
'cause
to
it-
the Vader outfit.
yeah,
'Cause
'cause
the
it
Vader
seems-
outfit just seems
It'd be hard to wear that every day.
yeah.
Whereas you can tell that Kylo would wake up in the morning and he would just like he would clearly sleep in the under tunic, whatever.
Yeah, because he's a weird, gross teenager.
No, well that's what I mean, like a lot of the characters in the Star Wars universe, their clothes are like what they
don't
wear
sleep
every
in
day.
Jammies. They
Yeah.
don't,
They just
no
would-
time for jammies.
Yeah, that's like what they wear every day. So
Yeah.
like you can imagine that's like this outfit that he wears is just he's been adding to it for years and it's
Yeah.
become what it is. Which is kind of whereas the Vader one seems like
the Vader one was put on him when he was
Yes.
at the
So,
end
like-
of the third film. No.
and then he has to sleep in that weird thing where he sits upright or whatever,
Yeah.
which just would be uncomfortable.
it like dehumanizes him compared to Kylo, which like his mask dehumanizes him, but not as much. And probably because he takes it off so fucking much that you're kind of like you're just like, mask, no mask. They almost feel like different people.
Yeah.
Like when he puts the mask on, you're like, okay, this is Kylo Ren. But when he takes it off, it's just like, oh, it's Ben Solo.
Yeah, I mean we talked about that forest scene where he's fucking terrifying.
Oh, yeah,
he's
like,
hunting Rey.
that's
and
terrifying.
You don't see him. You just hear the crackle of branches and like the lightsaber.
and it doesn't. Yeah, he's sort of like this weird different thing, which I don't
Yeah.
mind too much.
I kind of like the idea that maybe in the next film we're gonna see more of that because he's lost that bit of his humanity having killed Han. You know, he's done what Vader couldn't. Because we know from the novelizations that Kylo Ren knew that Vader had turned to the light side before he died.
Yeah.
Which is a huge like I don't understand
He's
why
like-
they cut that from the film because it's so important to understand his motivation for killing Han because he's doing what Vader never could
Yeah.
and it doesn't make him stronger, it makes him weaker and he gets fucked up by Rey.
Yeah.
And that's such rich storytelling as Gabe said in my interview with him. And like you know, I think the design of Kylo like has to be a success and it is a success because you don't notice all this shit when you're watching it.
But it still does what
It does what
do.
and it does what it's meant to do, and it goes beyond what it needs to do.
Yeah.
And like, you know, it adds to the world building, to the way that the story is told, particularly with the helmet and the weight,
Yeah.
and like the fact that he puts it in the ashes sometimes.
Yeah, that shit was like, whoa,
That's
what
so
the
dark.
fuck?
Like
Yeah.
that's such like what point do you have to get to that that's something that you do?
Yeah,
Like that's so telling of his character, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean even though it was uncomfortable for Driver, I think it helps us place Kylo as a character who's existed long before the cameras are turned on.
Yeah.
And like that's what you're supposed to do with the costume.
Yeah, and he clearly has like through the what's like the original group he was part of, the
The
Knights
Ren.
of the First- Knights of-
the Knights of Ren. He still runs.
Knights of Ren.
They still
Yeah.
exist.
I wonder if we'll see them.
I hope
The
so.
rest of them. I mean, we will.
We've seen them in that
because
dream
we see them in that.
sequence.
Yeah. So we most
but-
definitely will.
Yeah, but hopefully
It's just whether that might be where the other helmet designs come in. We might see them in the Knights
that'd
of
be
Ren.
cool.
That'd
Actually.
be cool, actually.
Actually, yeah, I'm curious to see where they go with that because
'Cause if they're
he
all-
still needs to be unique.
Yeah, but
So
if they're all
what's-
very similar but the same,
That could
we
be
might
kinda cool.
we might see like some of them be like more like Vader almost.
Yeah.
And you see that progression from like and
Ah.
like maybe there's like two extremes.
Yeah,
where
oh,
it's,
yeah,
like, and
yeah.
he's kind of in the middle somewhere.
Yeah,
with his
or
mask.
well, I think I'm not sure if he started the Knights of Ren or not, but if he did, maybe his is the first iteration.
Yeah,
or
his
something,
is like-
or it's like the last. Like it'll be somewhere in
Yeah.
between, you know. But either way, I think that'll be
That'd
kind
be
of
cool.
interesting.
I hope we see them because you don't see their masks as they're all hooded up.
Yeah.
In that flashback.
Yeah, it's also raining and shit. So it's, hard
It's also
to...
really hard to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just can't see anything. It's like a 1 second clip.
yeah, but it's I'm curious. Like it
Yeah.
should be interesting. They seem to be sort of like the secret police of the First Order kind of thing. So
Yeah, they're
could be
probably
interesting.
they're the ones pulling the strings, even though
I hope so.
it's probably Snoke that's actually.
Well, it'll be a bit.
pulling
Well,
the
I assume he runs them
Yeah.
or something. But yeah, I mean that's gonna do it for the costumes, the costume talk of Kylo Ren. I just like we pretty much covered everything. Like
he's just
it's a great design. It's
Yeah,
such a
it's
great
just
design.
really good.
And when you nail that shit, like you just you forget
Yeah.
that there's been design put into it, and you just think that it's what that
It's
person.
just what
dresses
it's
like.
meant to be. Yeah, it fits
Um,
perfectly.
So where can people find us, Ben?
YouTube.
YouTube.
DCM.works.
Yep, DCM.works, patreon.com/DCMworks. And
Twitter, DCM_works.
Yep, and as always, everything else is in the show notes. If you have any questions or feedback, or any ideas on what you thought of Kylo Ren's costume, hashtag AFApod, or the emails
at DCM.org.
Correct. And with that, this has been our episode on Kylo Ren's costume, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.
The visuals are very well done, and the gameplay is super fun, and because those three things are there, it's exceptionally good.
I could do it in a heartbeat and make millions, but it would feel like just gouging my soul out.
Yeah, Jurassic Park's a little more like DDR.
If Shrek is a fairy tale creature, can he actually own land and want to kick them off? Where did that come from? You have to make a lot of shit up to make good art.
Yeah.
That's just the truth of it.